Hello, and welcome to a Lady Well Traveled podcast. I'm Shannon Bednarova, your host and creator, and I'm thrilled you're joining me today. By way of introduction, I'm an avid traveler who's been to such diverse places as Russia, Israel, New Zealand, and China. I've been all over Europe, Central America, the Caribbean, and I've seen a lot of the United States. Have I been everywhere? Absolutely not. But I'm on a quest to see as much of our beautiful world as I can before I die. As fate would have it, I'll be spending the next few years traveling the world, and I'm inviting you to come along with me on my adventures. I'll be traveling the next few years with lifelong friends and by myself sometimes. I'll be podcasting and vlogging about my journeys. My traveling companions will often be guests on the podcast, and they're all going to add their own wonderful and hilarious flavor to the discussions that we have. One of my guests, for example, is a dear friend who's an architect who's lived and studied in Europe. He adores traveling and discussing history, art, and he's a foodie and a wickedly funny guy as well. Together, we're going to talk about the best destinations, history, cuisine, and culture, and share our findings with you so that you don't have to do all that research yourself. I took my first trip at the age of 15 abroad when I went to Mexico City, Tasco, and Acapulco with my best friend on her high school Spanish trip. I remember my mom wondering out loud to my dad if it would cure me of my wanderlust or if I'd have it for the rest of my life. I think we know how that turned out. I've always loved the way that travel educated me more about other people, their cultures, history, food, and way of life in a much more meaningful way than studying them in a book. The more I traveled, the more I believed I became a better citizen of the world, much more understanding, tolerant, and caring about others and those that were different than me. In doing so, I learned that no matter where we lived, what color our skin was, or what languages we spoke, we shared so much more than really what made us different. I firmly believe that our college-age students would be so much better served if they spent some time traveling around the world and really learning about their fellow man and meeting others in the world than just sitting in a classroom and reading about them in a book. So when we get together for our podcast, I'm going to be bringing you some no-nonsense travel advice and interviews with people that you might not see on the Travel Channel, like the shopkeepers and the farmers and people who've owned businesses that have been in their families for generations. Those are the people I think that you really need to get to know and become acquainted with their businesses. The people who cultivate the crops that go to the restaurants that you dine in foreign countries. I'll be giving you recommendations on luggage, but not just luggage. As a lady, I like to have a really neat bag to store all my toiletries in. I like having a bag to put jewelry in, to put little electronic plugs and devices in. We're going to talk about what works and what doesn't. I'm also going to talk to you about how to pack for any trip, any weather, and any destination, no matter how long your journey is going to be. You don't have to always dine at a Michelin-starred restaurant to have a wonderful experience. I'm going to help you choose where to dine within your budget. I'm a firm believer that there are some places that it pays to have a tour guide and some places that you can feel confident about doing your research and going and seeing on your own. I'll also be providing you with extensive information on traveling abroad with common health issues. Yeah, I know a lot of people really don't get into topics such as travel constipation or travel diarrhea. It's kind of laughed off, but believe it or not, it happens a lot more than you'd think. So what do you do when you have an issue like that in a foreign country and it makes your trip miserable? We're going to get into those topics. I'm also going to talk about issues such as traveling as you get older and how do you travel when you have aches and pains that are associated with arthritis, but you still love to travel. I'll also talk about topics that maybe aren't as common, such as traveling with a knee replacement or a hip replacement. I'll even be interviewing a friend who has had an organ transplant. But she loves to travel, and that's the reason she had an organ transplant, was so that she can continue to travel the world. And if you're interested in topics like this, I'll be letting you know ahead of time when these guests will be appearing so that you can write in and send in your questions. What if you check into an Airbnb and you get in bed and you've got allergies to house dust mites and you start sneezing your head off because you got into a strange bed? What do you do then? We're going to talk about all those things with healthcare professionals so that you can be prepared for any trip, any location, any place that you may be going to stay. And you're not going to be caught unaware. Be prepared for those trips. Go and have a great time. Be prepared for any eventuality that you may face. Have you ever planned a family vacation and had it go sideways? Who hasn't? You've all seen the family, for example, at Disney, and it's about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and the kids are exhausted. They're crying. The husband's yelling at the wife. The wife is crying. Everybody wants to go home, but they've spent a fortune on tickets, and they don't know what to do, but the kids need a nap, and everybody's miserable. Ugh, yikes. How about when you take a trip with a bunch of friends and you're all so excited about it, but yet the reality is nowhere near as fun as you've hoped, and somebody always ends up getting their feelings hurt because everybody doesn't want to do the same thing, and they storm off and plans are ruined, and it's just a mess. Well, we're going to talk about those kinds of situations and how to avoid those. And with the appropriate planning and setting expectations up front before you leave on your trip, how you can avoid all of that. Traveling with kids, traveling with parents, traveling with older parents, traveling with friends, traveling with friend groups. It's very, very important to have everyone be on the same page before the trip starts, to plan appropriately, and to set expectations before you leave so that everyone has a good time, no one's feelings get hurt, and there's plenty of time for rest, relaxation, and for everyone to do what they want to do without expectations of who's going to do what, you've got to do this with me, or I'm going to be upset. I'm going to also give a healthy dose of reality when it comes to travel etiquette. That's something that we really don't talk about that much, but I think a lot of us have been on trips where we've seen people whose behavior or the way they dress is really inappropriate. And we're going to talk about the appropriate ways to dress and behave when on airplanes, cruise ships, in amusement parks. We want to talk about how you need to be the appropriate type of ambassador for your country, no matter where you live, and how when we all take responsibility for our own dress and behavior, we make everyone who travels have a better time and a more pleasant experience. I love spending time being quiet and enjoying a moment of meditation in a quiet, hushed cathedral, meditating on the things of God, maybe contemplating a masterpiece hanging on the wall in a museum by Velázquez or Rembrandt, maybe riding on a boat off the coast of Portugal in the Algarve, looking at the beautiful golden red and orange cliffs, maybe sitting at a cafe on a piazza and having an Aperol spritz and watching the world walk by and just enjoying people watching. Those are the things that make life and travel so worthwhile. If you have listened to anything that I've said over the last few minutes, and if any of it has resonated with you, I hope that you'll join me for the episodes that I bring to you, because I think we'll have a lot to talk about. So I'll invite you to, whether you're at home, pour yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. If you're in your car, buckle up and just enjoy with me as we talk about all things travel. Join me on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, or iHeartRadio, or whatever your favorite podcast platform may be. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. And please stay tuned for my videos, which will be coming soon on YouTube. You can also reach out to me by email at shannon@aladywelltraveled.com. That's shannon@aladywelltraveled.com. I look forward to getting your suggestions for topics for discussion, or just simply reach out and let me know how you enjoyed the show. Before I say goodbye for now, I just want to close with this. God made this incredibly beautiful world just for you, with all its wonders. So if you're waiting for somebody to give you permission or an invitation to get up and go see it, here it is. Quit waiting for someday. See the world right now. So until next time, until I talk with you again, bye-bye.